former NFL defensive back Tyvis Powell with the type of coach he thinks the Browns should be looking for.
We as a fan base and, people that just enjoy football, we're so enamored with the story of the young offensive-minded head coach, the guy that's 35 that just can call offense. We love the Sean McVay and how Kyle Shanahan, like those type of guys. But when I look at this Browns team, I feel like we just moved off of that. I feel like Kevin Stefanski was that. Granted, his first 4 years was successful. He had 2 playoff appearances, had a playoff win. So it worked. But I think you have to expand off of that. I think if you really wanted that, you could have kind of kept the guy that you had. So I think you have to go into a different direction. I think that they need a leader of men. I really do. I think at some point, I just think the one thing that you just hear little stories about the accountability. You think about pre-snap penalties and turnovers. Kevin preached about how he didn't want that to happen, and yet we saw it. I just want to see guys become more disciplined. So I think we need a strong leader in there that can hold these guys accountable.
With that, let's welcome in Garrett Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as the Barbershop. G. Bush, so let me start with this. Everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay. Sean McVay had Jared Goff, who was #1 overall pick at quarterback. Kevin O'Connell had Kirk Cousins, who had some successful years in Minnesota as quarterback. If you want to look at, Ben Johnson, the hot hire, he had Caleb Williams, #1 overall pick at quarterback. Any hot young coach that doesn't have a quarterback, he's going to struggle. And more importantly, the structure here is they don't have the organizational structure for a young guy that hasn't done it before to come in and succeed.
Yeah, the problem is, I think when you look at it in general, this organization, they don't have the pieces and parts that, is set up to just come in and just say, oh, we about to, cook this up and we're going to be great. Like, no, you got, not only don't you have the quarterback, but you need other pieces too. You need to even, we are at a point where we need to get so many pieces and parts offensively to even evaluate whether or not you have the quarterback here. See, that's the thing. I think a lot of people, we focus a ton. We focus a ton on the quarterback position, and trust me, that's a big part of the equation. But to actually make an evaluation on a quarterback, you need to have linemen. You got to have multiple more receivers. Then you add in another philosophy of what you guys want to do, a foundation of what you guys are going to be, an offensive identity under a new coordinator. There's so many different things that you need in terms of trying to get this thing to a correct spot. There are things sometimes you're doing a disservice to talk about the head coach being a young guy, because not only that, one of the things that you're going to deal with is this is one of the more tougher places, to coach, one of the more tougher places to play in terms of weather, and one of the most toughest places that you talk about the scrutiny and the level of spotlight on this place. I was just joking. I was on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today, and I said, well, look, man, I mean, do you want and do you feel like your head coach has enough of a personality and a personality to deal with the level of scrutiny and the level of spotlight this season is going to bring? Because let's be clear, this is going to be a season where it looks like Deshaun Watson's on the roster and he's playing, and he's going to be healthy enough to actually compete and play football. And we don't know what it's going to look like, but it's one of the first times we're going to have to hear we're going to hear people say, "Hey, Deshaun, what are your thoughts on the way it ended when you left the field, when you got booed with your ankle? Deshaun, do you think you lost a position because of injury? Do you think you're still a top 32 player? Can you still play? What's your relationship with Shedeur Sanders? Shedeur, how does your relationship with the new coach compare to these are all things that you're going to have to hear, to deal with, and be a strong enough communicator to not only just deal with, thrive through. Not just deal with. I think people get it misconstrued. It ain't just dealing, it's thriving. Can you be a person? And it takes a special communicator. It takes a special person that can identify and then rally people around them to diffuse some of these things. And I think one of the things that caught Kevin Stefanski was the fact that He wasn't the best at answering those questions. Now you're going to have a young guy who's 30 years old, has not called plays, has not ever been in the locker room like that, has not had that spotlight, and you're asking that guy to come in and deliver year one under pressure. It's going to take a special guy to do it, and we get to be seen if one of these guys, Shieldhouse or Udinsky, is the guy for the job. But Schwartz is there as well.